Yep.
Hello here.
I just want to ask one question. My daughter's getting out of school. I saved all my money. She doesn't have any student loans. Am I going to get my money back?
Of course not.
So you're going to pay for people who didn't save any money, and those of us that did the right thing get screwed.
No, it's not anybody got screwed. When we
Of
started,
course we did. My buddy had fun, bought a car, went on vacations. I saved my money. He made more than I did. But I worked a double shift, worked extra. My daughter's worksheet is 10. So you're laughing. Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. We did the right thing, and we get screwed.
I appreciate
That's
it.
all right.
Here from Matt Taibbi wrote this article, CBS loses its mind. 2 days after J.D. Vance's historic address to Europe on speech, CBS and 60 Minutes offer a counterattack. You want to see this? This is really amazing. Watch this. If I never thought I'd be sitting here cheering on Marco Rubio, but liberals are so bad that they make Marco Rubio look like a sage defending democracy. Here we go.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide.
She literally just said that J.D. Vance was standing in a country, meaning Germany, where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. She's talking, so free speech to CBS News equals Hitler. I'm not kidding. That's what she's pretending. Now, it's the exact
That's how
opposite.
Hitler that's how the Nazis got away with it.
Yeah,
for
too
so
much
long.
free
From all the
speech. Yeah, you know how the Nazis, you know how they supported dissent and free speech and criticism of the Führer.
They said,
this
I
is
don't
the
agree, but I shall fight.
So this is what liberalism has come to, Kurt. This is it. They're literally now saying free speech. They're so they're so illiberal that liberals are now equating free speech with Hitler, Nazism, and genocide. That's why they called the truckers Nazis. That's why anybody who's for free speech is a Nazi.
It's a dog whistle.
It's
a dog whistle that means racism.
Yes, you're a free speech absolutist means you're a Nazi. This is
I don't know where the absolutist
Well, he
from, by the way, but that's nonsense talk. Just free speech.
Just
like
free speech. Yeah.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship was specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history. I also think it's wrong. Again, I go back to the point of his speech. Okay, the point of his speech was basically that there is an erosion in free speech and intolerance for opposing points of view within Europe, and that's of concern because that is eroding. It's not an erosion of your military capabilities. That's not an erosion of your economic standing. That's an erosion of the actual values that bind us together in this transatlantic union that everybody talks about. And I think allies and friends and partners that have worked together now for 80 years should be able to speak frankly to one another in open forums without being offended, insulted, or upset. And I spoke to foreign ministers from multiple countries throughout Europe. Many of them probably didn't like the speech or didn't agree with it, but they were continuing to engage with us on all sorts of issues that unite us. So again, at the end of the day, I think that people give that is a forum in which you're supposed to be inviting people to give speeches, not basically a chorus where everyone is saying the exact same thing. That's not always going to be the case when it's a collection of democracies where leaders have the right and the privilege to speak their minds in forums such as these.
Mr. Secretary, I'm told that we are out of time. Well, he was standing in a
out of time. So that is just so when that's how bad liberalism has gotten, they can make Marco Rubio look like a sage because to say that Hitler happened and Nazism happened because of too much free speech was the exact opposite. After the Reichstag fire, they completely banned free. There was no free speech. There was no opposition.
They're doing the thing that leads to genocide currently.
That's
why
right.
J.D. Vance said something.
Yes.
You ding that. Well, look, that's a beauty pageant contestant, I'm sure. Most of these chicks on these shows came out of the beauty pageant world, and they say things that are dumber than beauty pageant contestants answering the smarty pants question during the contest. She didn't write any of that herself. She was reading it off of her notes, or she has an earpiece. You can see when she leaned in that somebody is making her say that. Do you know what I mean? Like, just like they all have their little piece. None of them are smart and they write their own material. They're all brick. You remember Ron Burgundy? Every one of them is brick. She loves lamp. That's what she is.
So the narrative is now from the anti-Trump establishment narrative is that keep pushing that they're right-wing extremists, Nazis, and that's what their free speech is going to lead to Nazism, and they're for Nazis. That's what that is. They're still doing that.
Well, it works on somebody, I guess.
and
I've heard it for 12 years from idiot. It was millennials came out, the screw generation. They gave them all that nonsense to spout. So I've heard they all kind of have thought this the whole time, like, oh, it's good free speech. Oh, until there's a genocide. There's a pyramid they made of how comedy leads to genocide. Some girl gave a TED talk, TEDx, excuse me, a TEDx talk about the genocide pyramid. It starts with jokes and ends with genocide. So now they've been pushing this crap for a while. Like she went to, dum-dum school, wherever you pick that up. But they're all like, everything I've ever been on, there's been like some beauty pageant chick involved. And I'll bet most of these anchors were that. They're not journalists.
Wolf Blitzer's my favorite beauty pageant contestant.
Yeah. He won a dog show or something because of his luxurious maid.
Here she is again. Watch this.
Well, it sounded to a lot of these allies of the United States like they were being described as adversaries or autocrats. It was really the focus here, two things. One of them was migration, and the second was what Vice President Vance calls censorship. He was trying to...
what he calls, like he invented some new word. It's what Vice President Vance calls censorship. Have you ever heard that word? No, probably because it was suppressed.
Literally, you're arresting people for saying things. It's even like worse than that.
It's way worse than that. It's way worse than you can imagine. I'm going to show you another video in a second that 60 Minutes showed. This is a big deal in Europe. They're just cracking down on speech and putting people in jail for it. Thought crimes. You're not allowed to insult a politician in Germany. Did you know that?
What?
Yes. Wait till you see it.
Bring that MAGA message of censorship. He was...
Hang on, here we go.
Well, it sounded to a lot of these allies of the United States like they were being described as adversaries or autocrats. It was really the focus here, two things. One of them was migration, and the second was what Vice President Vance calls censorship. He was trying to bring that MAGA message of the enemy within to the global stage. And specifically, he says that European leaders aren't showing that they have strong democracies when they sideline controversial groups. He went out of his way to meet with the head of the AFD. That's a political party that's under investigation.
So they're doing the same thing over there, just like how they had 5,000 FBI people investigating the January 6th protesters that were all instigated by the FBI.
Yeah.
They're doing that. So now there's a political party under investigation by the people who are censoring free speech and putting people in jail for silently praying. They're the ones investigating a political organization.
What would someone silently praying across the street do to you? Getting like, let's say you go, hey, just because that guy sneezed over there, I don't want to get my abortion now. Good. What's the tragedy here?
Party to meet with the head of the AFD. That's a political party that's under investigation in Germany because it's so far right and
so far right. So we just decided that they're under investigation because they're so far right.
It's under investigation in Germany because they're so far right.
So far right.
What does that mean?
What?
Are they not? It's just super far.
They're just too right.
Like,
so we have to investigate them.
Adjacent to even more right.
So being so far right is illegal. You can't be far right. You mean like being censorious? You mean that kind of the hallmark of a dictator?
Yeah, they're so far right, they want free speech that can lead to genocide.
Yeah. You mean they're so far right that they're canceling democratically decided elections? You mean, oh no, they're not doing that?
They said they'd like to tweet their displeasure at their leaders.
Potentially conducting extremism. And he mentioned that car ran.
Potentially conducting. So do you see all the buzzwords?
Conducting extremism, what does that mean?
They're actually under investigation in Germany for being so far right that they could potentially be doing extremism.
She said conducting extremism. Are they doing? They have a skateboard park? What are you talking about?
What? Do you hear the
not
words?
A crime,
These are news people.
Oh my God, those are all bad words.
They could be conducting extremism, far right. Everything they don't like is far right. Freedom of speech, far right. Freedom of speech is actually equals Hitler.
In Munich recently, conducted by an Afghan migrant as an example of what he says is out of control migration. He says that's proof you've got to bring immigration skeptics into the government.
Immigration skeptics.
Immigration skeptics. That's what you got. Immigration skeptics. These people are out of their minds.
That's going to be the new conspiracy theorist when you're a skeptic of something.
You're a skeptic.
Now.
Yeah, you're an immigration skeptic.
Are you skeptical of things? I'm going to start using these at people. What are you, a Trump skeptic? Here?
And here's this mouthpiece and tool of the Brian Stelter. Here he is at the World Economic Forum, and here they are bragging about ending free speech under the guise of protecting people from hate. Watch this. And it's coming to the United States.
Well, we need the people who understand the language and the case law in the country. Because what qualifies as hate speech, as illegal hate speech, which you will have soon also in the US, I think that
Ha ha ha! Illegal hate speech, which you will have soon. You'll have soon in the United States. Did you hear Bryce Stelter? Did you hear his? Watch this. Listen for
Well,
it.
we need the people who understand the language and the case law in the country, because what qualifies as hate speech, as illegal hate speech, which you will have soon also in US. I think that we have a strong reason why we have this in the criminal law. We need.
There's a reason why we have this in the criminal law. And yes, so we can suppress people and criminalize speech when we want to, when it serves the establishment. That's why we have this in the law. The case law.
Wait, for people who hate Nazis, they sure love Nazis.
They sure love Nazism. As if the Nazis were for free speech. You are the Nazis.
Also, you
wait a minute.
them in Ukraine, you morons.
And
you gave Nazis weapons.
So as you're cracking down on free speech, canceling elections, and you're saying that free speech leads to Nazism, and you're the far right wingers who are funding a genocide and putting people in jail who speak out against the genocide at the same time as you give weapons to legit Nazis in Ukraine. Do you see how they are the thing they claim to be fighting? Do you see how every accusation is a confession?
Stop! Don't make me cry.
Don't
make me cry like the chairman of the Munich.
They're far right. They're extremism. What's more extreme than canceling elections and putting people in prison for thought crimes? What's more extreme than that? What's more extreme?
Democracy.
What's more extreme than putting people in jail for protesting against a genocide, which you're funding, at the same time you're giving weapons to legit Nazis in Ukraine? This is what liberalism has come to. This is what
also installing a friend of al-Baghdadi
to run Syria. That's right.
In charge of Syria, and we're all going to pretend that's fine.
You're the one who put the guy, the Al Qaeda head, in charge of Syria. This is what liberals have come. That's what it's come to now. Not only are they for pro censorship, not only are they canceling elections, not only are they putting people in jail who speak out against a genocide, but they're also funding Nazis at the same time as saying free speech will equal Nazis.
Oh man, is anybody out there good at editing that could take that News Nation egg UFO footage and put Brian Stelter's head on the on the egg?
This is and they giggle about that. There's a reason why we have these. You can't speak. You can't have thoughts. Yeah. Who's the guy who did that book?
In your face, you have to be. You know why they could be in your face is because there's a new generation of suckers born every minute. So the millennials, they snapped up by screwing them out of every other possibility in life. So they gave them this like Nazi ethic, and then they're trying to get the Zoomers on board with you can be whatever space gender you want. Once you notice that this seems like the other thing from a while back, you're old. So screw you. You're dead. You're almost dead. This is to trick the next generation into thinking this is normal. Just like everybody notices their rights slowly going away.
Yeah.
But it's gradual. And by the time you realize it, you're on your way out.
I remember when Paul Provenza, the guy who did that Satirista's book, and he was just on stage one night going, "Free speech is an absolute. It's an absolute." I'll never forget. I was like, "He's right." Yeah, all those people have now switched because of Trump. Now they got to be against hate speech. So you got to curate the internet. You can't just let it be wild. You got to.
If people are lying about you and doing it, you should have recourse to sue them and whatever.
Yeah, someone's legal.
People try to redefine what free speech is.
That's right.
Like how they do with free will. They try to make it like there's no such thing. Yeah. Just redefine it into nothingness.
If someone damages you with slander,
there's laws for that.
There's laws for that. It's amazing what's going on. This is how far as the liberals are literally funding a genocide and throwing people in jail who speak out about it, who protest it, as they suppress free speech, use censorship, and cancel elections at the same time as they're funding legit Nazis in Ukraine. They're calling someone else an extremist. This woman thinks someone else is an extremist. No, that's what the face of extremism looks like. I know you didn't think it did. That's what it looks like. Her.
It does, yeah.
That's what a nice little Nazi looks like. This is for your good. We're doing it for your good. We don't want you to conduct extremism, so we're taking away your free speech. We're throwing you in jail for protesting a genocide, and we're going to send some more guns and bombs to legit Nazis in Ukraine. We're doing this for democracy.
Do you remember Tim Russert was the host of Face the Nation back in the day?
It was Meet the Press.
Who was the Face the Nation host? Somebody more qualified than this.
George Schaefer.
Really?
Remember the old guy? Yeah, Schaefer.
Yeah.
Okay, over
She's
to,
just terrible.
yes. Over to Steph.
What do you
Okay.
do?
Thank you so much. Tennis shoes with a suit is gay. Exhibit A on screen. I saw that. Thank you so much for that one. Fernandez.
I sometimes do that.
Fernandez. How
Doesn't
many
make you gay, and even if it does, what's the big deal?
you know, nothing.
Oh, here's that guy, Kurt. Here he is. He had to
You want to show it?
he had to
Can I show it
hug
on
the
screen?
woman.
Oh no.
So after
Yes, please show me. Whose is that so I can find their account?
so here
All right, you can you're gonna big screen that, or you want to just that?
let me big screen it.
Yeah,
I'm very grateful to
All right, you
all
can show
those
Jimmy.
European politicians that spoke out and reaffirmed the values and principles that they are defending. No one did this better than President Zelensky.
Oh.
Let me conclude, and this becomes difficult.
Did you all this money after the Ukraine war? Is that what you're talking about?
I heard a woman has to. It's okay. That
Whose account is that so I can grab that video? That is unbelievable.
that's what
That's
liberalism
unbelievable.
has come to. Over to Steph. I'll find out. Hang
They're
on.
applauding his his crying performance.
Yeah, his crime
Who's that?
performance. It's fantastic.
Hugo Vale.
Okay. He goes, sir, that was the, they were going to bring him an Oscar, right? What a statue after he got done with his monologue.
It's just nice that you think people that are dead inside still have feelings. That's what my walk away is.
That couldn't have looked like phony or crying, by the way. It was not good crying.
Why did anybody think it was the right time to cry?
You remember this?